All right, welcome back, Canaries. Today I have to share a story that my sister told me last week because I think a lot of us have lived in this exact moment. So she's been trying to get out of this situationship. I know you know the kind where we're technically free, we're not together, but emotionally we're still on that fucking leash. Like you're done, but you're also checking your phone like it owes you money. Yeah, that kind. And she texts me that morning and she's like, I swear I'm balding. My skin is breaking out. I feel ugly. And I'm reading this like, if any of you have seen my sister, you know. I'm reading this like, sister, you are one of the most beautiful people I know. Not in a, you're my sister, so I have to say that way. Like, she actually is. If she walks into a room, people are looking. And that's the thing. When you've been dealing with someone who crumbs you, remember that crumb king? When you're dealing with a crumb king or queen, they slowly chip away at you. Or it makes you feel like you're a little too much or you're not enough. Like you're lucky that they're even there. And you start seeing yourself through their lens instead of your own. And if I'm being totally honest, I've had moments like this too. A lot of them, actually. Not where I necessarily didn't look like myself, but where I didn't feel like myself. I was quieter, smaller, second-guessing things I normally wouldn't, like overthinking texts that I would have sent without blinking before, or wondering if asking the bare minimum was somehow too much. And you're like, wait, since when do I move like this? Where did my confidence go? So anyway, she goes to the grocery store. No glow-up montage, no pep talk. She just goes. And by the end of the trip, 3 different guys had offered to help her with her groceries. And 2 of them actually do. And so she sends me this snap afterward. And so I can see her face in it. And she goes, how did I forget I was pretty? How did I forget? And I just sat there like, you dipshit. Of course, you're gorgeous. I don't know how you forgot. And then it hit me. That's the episode. That's the episode right here. How do we forget? How do we go from knowing who we are, being proud of ourselves, our capabilities, being assured, to questioning it, to fully believe that we're not that girl anymore or that guy? And the answer is proximity. You get too close to someone who doesn't see you clearly. And instead of protecting your view of yourself, you start borrowing theirs. And not to play the devil's advocate here, but this doesn't necessarily make people villains. So there's no drama intended here. And sometimes it's really not even intentional. Sometimes the person you're with is just deeply insecure. And instead of rising to meet you, they start leveling the playing field. Backhanded comments, withholding compliments, my personal favorite, inconsistent effort, making you feel like you have to earn basic care and love. And slowly you start paying the price of their insecurity and you shrink. You start to question yourself, you overanalyze, and you forget. And it creates this weird mental bubble, like your worth only exists inside of how they treat you. And I remember this moment really clearly. I was dating this guy and we were at church. If you ever met me, you know, cleavage is not exactly in my, I didn't get it, right? Like I don't have that kind of setup. Half the time, I'm not even wearing a bra because there's just, my body is not a situation that requires it, right? So we're sitting in this pew and he leans over and he tells me I'm showing too much cleavage. And we get in this quiet, hushed argument about it. And then I kind of froze because first of all, sir, logistically, that doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. I don't have anything to put on a shelf, right? But more than that, it wasn't just a comment. It was about a feeling because this place, this building is supposed to be about my reflection on my own life, about myself. And suddenly I'm being judged by the person who also claims to love me. Like I had done something wrong. And I remember looking at him with like verge of tears eyes and saying, my cleavage is between me and God. And he says I'm fine. And I said it with a straight face and I held it together. But then I went into the bathroom and I cried. And then I had to walk back out, sit in that pew, and pretend like I was okay. And that's kind of what I mean by what proximity does. It doesn't always break you in big, obvious ways. Sometimes it's quiet, it's subtle. It's a comment that sticks in your brain longer than it should. It's a moment that makes you suddenly feel uncomfortable in your own skin. It's you leaving that moment going, was I wrong? Even if you were. I know the church dress situation, I wasn't wrong. And I need to say this really clearly and loud, and say it to yourself loud. Their insecurity is not your tab to pay. You do not owe someone your confidence because they do not have their own. And you don't have to shrink yourself to make someone else feel more comfortable. So if you've been feeling like that, questioning yourself, shrinking yourself, forgetting parts of who you are, I really want you to check your proximity. Who are you around? What kind of lenses are they handing you? And are you wearing those lenses instead of your own without realizing it? And I want to say this too, because this isn't just about identifying what feels off. It's about learning what feels right, what feels safe, what feels clear, listening to the signals that our body is sending us. Because clarity is really important in love and friendships and all of it. And I had a moment recently that really showed me the difference. I went on a date with someone, and he mentioned that he had a very close female friend, someone that he's very emotionally intertwined with. They communicate a lot about delicate stuff. And this female friend happens to do adult content as well, which I'm not against, but I did feel myself tense a little bit. Not because of him or even her or her career choice, but because of my past experiences. Because I've been in situations before where someone says she's just a friend, but it wasn't actually just a friend. Or if it was platonic, it was only platonic because she made the decision for it to be, not because of him. So I kind of felt that shift inside of myself, and I had an auto recoil. And instead of ignoring it, I kind of made a little note in my brain about it. And he noticed. He noticed the shift change, which was already very different. And he caught the energy shift, and he gently asked me if something had upset me. And I paused, and then I decided to tell him the truth. I said, it's not an issue right now, but my past experiences tell me that it could become one. I said, it's just too early to know. You know, we've only been on a couple dates at this point. And instead of getting defensive, instead of shutting down, he responded with curiosity, with openness. And he basically said, ask me whatever you need to ask about it. Whatever gives you clarity, I'm open to it. And then he didn't stop there. He started offering more information without me having to pull it out of him, letting me know they'd never been romantic. They'd never been romantic, that he had been the best man at their wedding. And he kept giving me context that helped me understand the dynamic of their relationship without me having to interrogate him for it, without me having to ask. And that's when it clicked for me. There's the difference between honesty and transparency. Honesty is answering the question, and transparency is making sure confusion doesn't get the chance to grow in the first place. And that's what it did for me. It calmed my nervous system. It took the situation out of the category of, here's a yellow flag, this could turn to red. This could turn into something I've seen before, I've been through before. And instead, it put it into, oh, this actually might be what he says it is. And I'm not saying trust people blindly, right? We're still building up this trust dynamic. I'm just saying notice how different that feels, because I've had friendships before that used to be romantic and now they're genuinely platonic. They really are. So I know that it's possible. But the difference is, when someone is transparent like that, you don't feel like you're bracing yourself for a future lie or a future impact. You feel like you've been given the full picture. And that's what I mean by proximity. It's not just about avoiding people who make you feel small. It's about recognizing people who make you feel safe to understand, safe to ask questions, safe to process, safe to not have it all figured out yet. Because the right kind of proximity doesn't make you question yourself more. It makes you come back to yourself faster. It doesn't confuse you. It clarifies things. And it's happy to clarify things. And that's how you start learning the difference, by paying attention to how you feel around someone. Does this person make you feel like you need to shrink, to talk less, to be quieter? Or do you feel like you can ask and you can explore and you can understand more, get depth on something? Not out of interrogation, but out of genuine, I want to understand. Because that feeling, that's information. And the more you listen to it, the clearer everything else becomes. All right, canaries. You didn't forget who you are. You're just listening to the wrong voice for a little too long. So come back to yourself, get out of that situationship, and pay more attention to who helps you stay grounded. Listen to your nervous system. And remember, we're not doctors, therapists, or professionals. We're just a community sharing real life experiences, so take what resonates and leave what doesn't. And if you've had a moment like this, maybe a current situation or a past one, send it to hercanarypodcast at hercanary.com, and we can talk about it. Until next time, stay close, canaries.